Hi, welcome and good evening, everybody. My name is Rachel Johnson, and I am so happy to be here hosting with Patty Whittington this evening. We are really happy that you've joined us, and we've got a really great session lined up for you today with the amazing Patrick Houseman. So before we get started, please make sure you go say hi in the chat. Tell us where you're from and what your Twitter handle is. And I think on that note, and on behalf of the Global Gig, we're going to turn it over now to Patrick.
Thank you guys for the great intro, and I'm glad my sound was not on at the beginning because the Chewbacca intro makes me laugh every single time. But hopefully everybody can see the slides on your screen. There is a bit.ly in the center, so that's the bit.ly/30att. So if you go to that, you should be straight into the slide deck. That slide deck, as well as a lot of others, can be found at my website, phasedu.com. On the resources tab, you'll see every slideshow that I've done really throughout the career of presenting at different conferences. They're all going to be right there on that resource tab. And you'll start to find some more content from me also showing up on Unison.edu, which is the nonprofit I started connected to my Google Innovator project. So that is all centered around providing meaningful and great professional development to schools and educators in need. And they can all be found on the team page. And if you're interested in possibly joining up, definitely check out the team page, read on the website, and reach out if you have questions. We'd love to get more team members and really be able to reach as many schools as we possibly can. And please, as we kind of go through, keep the chat going through. Our awesome host from Global GEG will pop in and interrupt me as needed when questions come up, and I will definitely come back to it and do questions, but I'll also look over periodically to my second monitor to see what questions have come in, and I'll connect up with you afterwards. So make sure you put in your Twitter handle into the chat too, so I can go back to that and connect with everybody that's joining it. Again, you'll see the bit.ly on your screen. There's a couple kind of questions there for you to check out too. Share everybody and kind of get to know each other a little more as far as best movie, TV show, or book you've experienced recently. You can chuck that in the chat. And also, if you've been thinking about it, what's something you've really wanted to create with your students this year or have them create? And I hope you also had a chance to check out the Explore link and the Create link that are on the slides as well. If you happen to look through the slide deck, you'll notice fairly quickly there's definitely more than 30 tools. So initially, that's why it went from 30 tools to 30-ish tools. And then I realized that was probably incorrect as well. So then it just became amazing tech tools for student creation and innovation. So we'll go through the slide deck. It'll have a number of tools on each slide, and then we'll do a slightly deeper dive into one of those tools, and we will bounce around. So if anybody's looking for it to go 100% in order, I do apologize, but for the interest of time and hopefully having some time built in for some interactive components and also some Q&A, we will bounce around and won't hit all of them. But do remember, the slide deck is never going to go away. It'll always be linked on the website, and I just continually update and interchange tools, especially in this one. But hopefully you're in the right place and we're looking for Patrick Houseman. I am phasedu.com for the website, as we saw, unisonedu.org we also saw, and at phasedu on Twitter, and email phasedu@gmail.com. And if you are interested in pursuing any of the badges that you see on the screen, please reach out on Twitter. Please send me an email. I'd be more than happy to walk you through the steps that I took to get to each one of those. And there's a few more I need to add because I am evidently at odds with free time and I keep diving into more and more things. So please reach out if any of those are things that you're interested in. To begin, as we start to tiptoe in, I am a firm believer that innovation is kind of a state of mind, and it's not necessarily just the newest, greatest thing and tweaking everything. Sometimes it's just a little change that you have just seen the world in a different way. Just like this image that I really like, that just flipping the umbrella around and maybe hollowing out that handle, it's a completely different thing. It still kind of keeps you dry, but it also then has another purpose. So sometimes it's looking at tools you've used in the past and just coming up with a cool new way to use it. It's not necessarily having to have the newest, shiniest thing every time. It can literally just be, what's a different way I can use this tool already? And in our time right now of remote learning, distance learning, online learning, whatever you want to term it, it can be really good to use tools the kids are used to already, but just spin it up a little bit, keep it fresh with new ideas for those tools. So the first thing I wanted to do, I know we had some check-ins already, but here's one that if you have the slide deck open and you're able to do the click there, you can do it there, but I will also snag this link as we're going live here. And let me see. I will pop open our StreamYard and throw it in the chat for you. Now, I will put it in the private chat and our global people can put it in for you. That way it'll be a live link. I remember that from the StreamYard side. But if you jump into that, it'll take you to a Jamboard and you can use the chat, or the text tool, I mean, or you can use a sticky note. And your goal is to answer that question you see on the screen. If you just won the lottery, where would you be the next day? So complete that sentence. I just won the lottery. If you're looking for me, I'll be, and then finish that with either text or a sticky note. And Jamboard is one of the newer tools that our teachers have started using with our students. And I'll adjust it here on the fly because somebody said they did not have the edit rights. So let's remedy that. Edit and done. Go ahead and refresh. You should have editing rights to it. But it's something our teachers have started to use really all the way down through elementary as a tool that can quickly allow students to create some things. They may self-put in or kind of self-populate some images for the kids to use, but it's a quick, easy tool to spin up, to get out to the students. You can assign it in Google Classroom really easily and make every student a copy. I love some of the images that are starting to come in, but it is something that is just super easy to use. And whenever I can get a tool into the hands of the teachers that doesn't need a lot of front time, I'm going to do it every single time. And the fact that it allows you to bring images and things in, and you can also change the background to a couple of different things. I love how easy and simple it is to use. And I love some of the ideas coming in. Somebody's going to go to the Apple Store. You could possibly buy yourself an Apple Store. So there's a couple different things, and I see a couple vacation spots. You might be able to buy yourself an island depending on which lottery you take or hit. But you'll notice too, if you look at the top, there is a second page in the Jamboard, and it has another page there for you to play with that just asks you to answer the question, what does innovation mean to you? So when you think of innovation as another one of those buzzwords that we hear a ton of in education, what does innovation kind of mean to you? And I'll leave this Jamboard linked into the slide deck. So if it takes you a little bit of time to put something in here, or you want to come back and revisit some of these ideas, know that this Jamboard will stay open for you. And I will also link some things into the slide deck for some more examples and templates for Jamboard, because there's a lot of stuff out there to be able to use. But know that that is there. It's a simple tool, but it's something that you'd be amazed with what students can create with the simple drawing tools and bringing in images that are there. And if you were interested, that question came from a website that I just discovered this week. It is checkin.daresay.io. And it is a quick prompt site that helps you generate some of those check-in questions. And it is as simple as coming to the page, and you can hit the arrow left or right to bring things up. You can also go into the filter and look for practical, creative, reflective, and then narrow it down into those different topics to kind of pinpoint the type of question you might want to launch out to the kids. And after you do a few, the spin of this is to start thinking about letting your students create some of these, and maybe they can help lead off the class with one of these check-in questions. And obviously there's a ton of different tools they could use. They could obviously use Jamboard and launch that out, get it to you beforehand so you could put it in Classroom, or they could make it themselves and put it into the chat function. So a lot of different ways that you could use a check-in, but as we go through and I talk about teachers creating some things, know that pretty much everything I show, your students should be able to create with that too. And that's really the point and the big thing behind this presentation is the students' creation side. As we jump in a little bit further, I want to back up just a smidge to those couple tabs that we had, or those links that we had on the first slide. One of those, if you did the Explore, would have taken you to Google Arts and Culture slide. If you haven't seen Google Arts and Culture before, it'll bring you to this website that is artsandculture.google.com. And this isn't necessarily a place to create, but it is an amazing website that Google is putting together with tons of art and even essentially full museums you can walk around and explore, all without leaving where you are. And of course, in our current COVID climate, a lot of us can't go to these places in person, but also in a rural school district where I am, it's really hard for our students to imagine what the Guggenheim looks like. And you can look at it in pictures, but to be able to actually go there and walk around and see the different things is a completely different thing. And then on that side, we have Screencastify. So our students could actually create almost a little tour utilizing Google Arts and Culture to kind of walk around and see the different places. So it's an amazing website. A lot of the artwork is photographed so fine or with such a high resolution that you can zoom in and actually see like brush strokes. And if you are more in tune with art than me, you'd be able to tell how they did it, what technique they might have used, but also know with that zoom, there is a small tidbit that you want to remember. If it is a piece of art that there was one, I believe, called something like The Harvest. In the one part, there is a small pond in the top of this painting where if you zoom in far enough, you will actually discover that people are skinny dipping in said pond. So the zoom is a gift and also a curse, depending on how much your students are going to explore. So keep that in the back of your mind. But as you go through, you can kind of favorite things, and then you can add them to a collection. So you're able to push out content to your students that way. But on the flip side, your students could also create those collections and then share them back to you. So a lot of great stuff here. We won't explore too much, but by all means, feel free to take a deep dive in because you'll find a ton of amazing stuff in arts and culture. Also linked to that first slide is going to be Google AutoDraw. And I link this in for all of you that may be like me and not super talented in the world of art. And what AutoDraw allows you to do is click down here where it says Start to Draw. And you'll notice here on the left, the pen that is activated is the one that has kind of the magic sparkles next to it. And what that does is as I start to draw something in the center, it's going to automatically start to try and guess what I'm drawing at the top. And I can say, absolutely, I was definitely going for a motorcycle. And I can just click that, and magically, my very poor beginnings of a drawing becomes an actual motorcycle that I can then grab onto. I could resize it. I can also come down and recolor it. And then I could download that, use it in a presentation. But you'll notice I have other options where I can actually fill the background. I can add text, and I could make literally an entire scene in AutoDraw. And you'd be amazed as you look down through, if you do some Google searches, the fantastic artwork that has been generated and created with a tool that is this simple to use. It blows my mind how creative people are, even with tools that are kind of simplistic. So as you look at it, you'll think it only has a few tools, but believe me, put it in the hands of your kids and they're going to create things that blow your mind. And especially for me, again, not super artistic, but I can make some things with this, put them together, do a couple little tricks, and it looks awesome even coming from me. Last thing I'll touch on here, in those 3 lines, you'll see you can change the page size, but you can also download it, you can share it, and then you can also come to this awesome spot down here to see what different artists have created. And you can see it's definitely those shapes you see, but there's a lot more within here. And as a slight connection to the artist and auto draw in general, if you think back to Google's Quick Draw AI experiment, where back a little bit you would be asked to draw a shoe or a pair of glasses or something like that, and then it would save it. Then a couple other thousand people would go to it and they would draw the same thing. All of those people drawing a shoe, drawing a motorcycle, drawing glasses, they are what taught AutoDraw how to do its thing. So if you ever participated in Quick Draw, or possibly some of your students, you actually helped make AutoDraw what it is. So awesome stuff. And if you create something, please download it, launch it out on Twitter, tag Global GEG, tag me. I'd love to see the stuff you create as we go through things. And with that, we'll jump back to the slide deck briefly, because not only can you create something there, but if you download the app, you're going to see the art selfie, which is going to be in the Android as well as the iPhone app. If you fire up the app, you're going to be able to find the art selfie in there. And what you do is take a picture of yourself, and it compares you to different pieces of art throughout history, and it will come back with what it believes is something that looks like you. Sometimes it is fairly accurate, and you're like, all right, that's sweet. I look like this awesome dude from back in history. And sometimes it is way off, and it just makes it hilarious. So either way, it is a win-win. So if you do an art selfie, go ahead and screenshot that, launch that out on Twitter too, and make sure you tag Global GEG and me at PHOS.edu, because I'd love to see what you get. If it's super close, and possibly even more, I would love to see it if it's way off and super humorous. So either way, please make sure you launch them out. So those are just the two things linked to the first slide in the slide deck. So now we're going to jump in and get into the slide deck itself and explore a few different things there. And again, we won't hit every slide. And please, on the back side, my awesome Global GEG peeps, if you could interrupt anytime questions come through, because I am more than happy to kind of take a pause and do questions anytime. But if we come down through, real quickly as I come down through the slides, you'll see here on slide 10 an instance of one of those images where people actually kind of hand drew some things, added a background, and we got an awesome picture of space in there. So some amazing stuff that you could do, but please share out any of your creations. I would definitely love to see them. So one of our first categories of different things student can create is websites. And I put a few different editors on there. I know there is a lot more, and I didn't put blogs on here. They appear a little bit later, but these are 3 different ones that I've used off and on. And what I usually categorize as probably the 3 easiest ones I've used. I don't have to know how to program. The kids don't have to know how to program. They can jump in within a few seconds, have one created, and then add a class period or 2 onto that. They have the beginnings of a really good site fairly quickly without, again, having to know a lot of coding, but it can be a springboard into wanting to know that side more and kind of giving them that urge to dive a little deeper and learn that side and maybe dip into something like WordPress. So real quickly, I'm going to jump over to Google Sites, and you'll notice on the top part here, we have the template gallery. And depending on if your school has published any, you might be able to have some templates there. But you'll notice there's a range of templates. There's not a ton, but you see we have a few rows here of different templates that Google has already created. So maybe I'm jumping in, and the first thing I might want my students to do is a portfolio. So you see I have a template here for a student portfolio already. So I can just click that, and depending on how unhappy my computer is that I opened almost 40 tabs, it'll load fairly quickly, or it might spin and say goodbye to me. But we're going to hope that it loads up and everything is happy. But within a few seconds, normally, Google will spin up your site. You'll have that ready to go with all of your template pieces in place, and the students will just have to tweak certain parts. And once it loads, we'll dive in here in a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and bounce to the slide deck here for a second to show you a few more things, and we'll come back to that Google Sites tab. One of the things I wanted to point out here in the slide deck is this tab where it says that Netflix actually made one of their sites in Google Sites, And you can see that it's not a kind of a real in-depth site, and you can see the person that created it for Netflix kind of made a G Suite side of it, but this came from a legitimate website where they had made a very simplified site that was actually used by somebody the kids would recognize really quickly. And one of the really nice things about sites too is it transitions awesomely between a tablet, a cell phone, a TV, or a cell phone. So there's a lot of different ways that it can appear, and it adjusts really nicely. So you can see here on the student portfolio, they have the name option up here at the top. If I adjusted that, it would also adjust this part. But you can see Google has already put in that that is where my name would go. So I'll briefly put that up there. You'll notice that it doesn't change the name here. So I could also tweak this, and I'll just follow the template that Google has. You can notice so far all that is text boxes, and that's all controlled if I just click text box here. It's that easy to bring a text box in. Or I can come in down at the bottom, do a double click with a left click, and it's boom, just a click right there to get a text box in. And then to the consternation of the kids, there's not a lot of editing options when you do a text box. You can see I have normal text. I have a few different sizes. I can bold, italics. I can't really do a lot with colors and different things. You can bring in pictures. You can embed different things, but you don't have a ton of options right off the get-go. But you can see it's already populated some spots for me at the bottom that are pre-made and ready for me to upload images. If I wanted to upload my own, I can pull them in right from the right-hand side here just by clicking images and be able to bring in my own pictures. And you can see underneath, again, just text boxes. So super simple. And to bring these in, all they did when they made the template was use this nice layout function over here on the right to make that quick, easy. Students are off and running, bringing in their own content, which could be any of these different things you see as I scroll down between docs, sheets, forms. They could bring in charts. They could jump to pages and add more pages to their website. And last but not least, they could come to themes and change some of the colors and also adjust the font slightly. One big thing to remember, and something I always make sure I tell the kids, is that as they're editing, you'll notice up here at the top it does auto save, but the new sites does not auto publish. So they can have things built in the background without it being published out for others to see. But you always want to make sure in sites that the last thing you do is publish it out. So I know that was a really quick dip into sites. There's a ton of great tutorials out there. And there is also a tutorial linked into the slide deck itself. So there's a few learning opportunities there for you. And by all means, you can always reach out to me. And you can also reach out to any of the people from Global GEG. A lot of them will be able to help you out as well, because my website, as well as the Global GEG website, is built with Google Sites. So as we come down through, you can see the next section is video. And this is one we won't dive into deeply because I want to make sure we kind of hit a few more things as we go down through. But obviously, YouTube is one of the first things that you think of. A lot of our students may not be to the age when they can have their own YouTube channel, but do know, at least on your teacher side, and if you do have students that can have a channel, there is a fairly in-depth and robust editor built into YouTube, so you can edit videos there. WeVideo is probably the #1 editor that I've used on a Chromebook. It is fairly inexpensive. If you are a certified trainer for Google, you can get a free year for WeVideo, so look that up if you do not have it already. But it is a full-fledged editor that you can use in the browser, and there's word that real-time collaboration is coming before too long. So it's going to be essentially a Google Docs for video editing that your students could use, that you could use. So a lot of great stuff in WeVideo. And Edpuzzle is one that after you create the videos, you have them in place. Edpuzzle is one that allows you to add some formative assessment pieces to that video. But remember, on the flip side, there's no reason your students can't get into Edpuzzle as well and create not only those questions to add to a video maybe you made, but maybe create that video and add the Edpuzzle components as well. So as you think about the different tools that you see as we come down through, even Screencastify, think about all the different ways that you could use it for your teaching, but also think about the way that your students could use it too. When you buy a district license for Screencastify, like my district did this year, that allows all of your students to have Screencastify accounts too, and they can do all of those different projects that you might be thinking about, as far as making, obviously, screencasts to show you their thought process, show the work that they do as they go through, but also thinking about how could they spin that up a different way using the webcam only. Could they make a daily journal entry? Could that be your check-in for the day? Could you use that to build in some different things as far as some SEL components to have a video diary or something that the students might take daily or weekly? Could you kind of app smash that and connect it out to Edpuzzle? So they're not only making their own video demoing the work, but then they're throwing it into Edpuzzle and adding some questions that happen at strategic points in that video. So a great tool to use, something that you may be able to play with. And I missed it when I talked about WeVideo, but WeVideo also now has the ability to do GIFs. It also has a podcast setting as far as an option you can choose when you create. So don't think of WeVideo just as video. There's a lot more in there as well. And I'm going to quick check over to the right, and I don't see anything in the chat so far as questions. So I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling through, but please flag me down if questions come in. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down through the video one because we're getting close to another one where hopefully we'll have some creation on your side. And I did see a shout out to Loom in the chat. Loom is an awesome screencast tool as well that is also free for students and teachers. I believe they have a time limit as far as how long the video can be. But in all honesty, if you're hitting that time limit, your video is probably long enough that your kids aren't going to watch the whole thing. So definitely something to check out. But remember, that sweet spot for videos, not only for kids, but probably for my attention span too, is about 5 minutes or less when you're creating that content. You can make a bunch of different episodes, but you want to keep it short and sweet to keep them engaged. So in the world of photos, there's a ton of different things you can do and different ways you can obviously take those photos. A lot of times our photos, or our best thing to take photos, is in our pocket. Our cell phones have cameras that are infinitely better than what was there when I was growing up. And obviously generations back, they would be amazed at the technology that's in our pocket, not only just the camera, but all the other different things that the phone can do. But after you have those pictures taken, what can you do to take it up a few steps after that, or kick it up a few notches after you have it? You could use things like Pixlr or PicMonkey to edit that photo, add some elements, put some filters on it. You could also use something like Canva, which is kind of a supercharged design tool that helps you put things into social media graphics, make cards, calendars, tons of different things. And if you didn't know, I did link it onto this slide. You can get an account for Canva on the education side that'll give you all of the premium features for free. And I believe you can get as many as 30 students into that free account as well. So you would have full access then to all the templates that Screencastify has. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different templates. And as I do a quick scroll, you'll see some of the things I talked about, but you also see, obviously, you can do presentations, flyers, cards, you have posters, all kinds of different things that you can create. And you don't have to be a rock star designer to do it. You can get it into a template, and maybe you just swap out the image and retype some of the words, and that's as far as you go. If you're a little more comfortable with it, or if your students really like it and want to dive in, they can get into changing the fonts. They can get into changing the colors. They can change some of the icons that are in there and really completely make it their own. But that template can be a nice scaffold for those kids that are intimidated by design tools. And Canva is a great tool to help scaffold them in to get that comfort going. And then they can start ramping up different tools from there. But it is a great place to start to give you a lot of different good stuff. And again, if you click that link in the slide deck, you're going to be able to get to that free account so you can have all those premium things. But I will say on the flip side, Canva is one of the tools that I have used in a lot of our classes with our teachers to point out what a freemium tool is. Because a lot of kids will jump into different things, they'll click all the different things and go down all the rabbit holes, which of course I do too, so I judge not. But as you click down through, you go through some of those rabbit holes in Canva. They might click some of those things that are premium, then try to download it and do something with it. It says, hey, we need $5 if you want to use this as it is. And that can be a good teaching moment to show, especially as the kids are younger, but even our middle school kids and high school kids, as those different things come up, what do you notice about those icons and things on that left side that kind of sets them apart from the others? How did you, or how could you have known beforehand that those were going to cost money? And then that can start to have them look at different things as they go to websites and they're scanning down through. It can help them to isolate those things that make it a paid feature. Does it have a pricing tab on the bottom? Do they have some sort of marker that sets different icons apart? It's a great teaching tool, but it is also great, obviously, anytime we can, to get things for my favorite price, which is known as free. So definitely hit up that educator side. A couple other things I want to point out on the photo one. Google Drawings is probably one of the most underutilized tools within Google as far as I'm concerned, but it's a great one for doing different things with photos and designs because it starts you with a transparent background. But another thing that we've done more than just designing and doing different things with photos is creating, if you remember ThingLink as a tool, ThingLink is something that, or a tool that you could put an image in the background, and then you could use different markers to plot points on that ThingLink to call attention to things or embed more content. You can embed other websites to go to and check out. You could also embed a Google form or a YouTube video and have it all linked into that central image that ties that theme together. They used to have a free education account, and then they went nearly completely to the paid side. And that's about the same time that Eric Kurtz launched out this blog post that he called GoogLink, which is a way to utilize Google Drawings to make the same type of thing that you would have in that ThingLink experience, but using all completely free things. So as we scroll down through on this blog post, you'll see I eventually come to this one that is the parts of a flower. So you can see same kind of premise of putting something tied to your lesson or something your students are creating a project or an activity with in the background, and then using different icons that you find for free out online and embedding different content into that image. So you can see we have two different videos that are posted off of here. We have a free image icon that, again, is easily found out online to embed an image that could come up. We have a link, and we also have a Google Doc posted in. So ThingLink is one of those that, and to answer the question for Patty, I believe it is also free for Google certified trainers. So if you are a certified trainer, that's another one of those perks. I don't think they have any kind of free account for educators in general. I believe it's one of those where you probably get a little bit for free and then a lot of the goodness blocked on the flip side. But if you do it through the Google Drawing side, you and your students are going to have full access to being able to create those things. Again, in a tool they're probably fairly comfortable with because it looks a lot like slides. So you can see the fact that, and to answer the question I just saw pop up, this is completely made within Google. So you'll see that there's a couple different things right here. If I click on Google Drawing link, that's going to take me from that blog post to what it actually would look like coming from Google Drawing. So this parts of a flower part is a photo or an image that Eric Kurtz brought in. And then each one of these, he just did icons and linked them in. But that is completely done within Google Drawings completely, not ThingLink at all. And as you scroll down through, Eric Kurtz has gone through and done step-by-step directions that obviously you could follow as a teacher, but your kids could also follow this down through and recreate something just like this. And again, that is in the ThingLink side. Right here we have thin link, right under that, Google Drawings, and then as a thing link right next to it. You can also think about things like infographics in Google Drawings. So a ton of different things you can do in it that are going to allow your students, again, to utilize one tool for a bunch of different things. Last but not least, I'm going to hit one more thing on here, and then we're going to move past the photo side. But it is right here, again, connecting to Google Drawings is making memes. So there's a ton of different things that you can do with memes. On the teacher side, we've had a lot of our teachers starting to convert things like their class rules and different things to memes so that it's a little bit different than just reading the syllabus. But it could be, and I may date myself slightly, but it's not too far back. But Liam Neeson was in the range of movies for Taken, and he would go after the people that kidnapped a member of his family. And one of the memes was a picture of him that said, "Skip my class, ... I will find you." And if you've seen that movie, you understand why that's funny, and you may have to explain it to the kids because a lot of the kids in school, that movie is going to be going back a little bit. But obviously you can make different memes, different characters that might be more relatable to the kids in your class. But that is going to link you to a blog post right here that gives you, as I scroll down, an access to a template here, as well as right underneath that, that will allow you to easily create a meme. It's got built-in directions on one side, it's got text boxes ready for you, and it's got images ready for you on the right side. So a great template you can run with that has images they can use already. They don't have to search for any. Obviously, you can go to insert an image within Google Drawing, and you can get to them that way. You could also use something like Adobe Spark to do memes and a ton of other things. If you don't know Spark, it is 100% free for educators. So you can have it set up where it'll be single sign-on for Google. You can also create your own account, but you can make different posts. You can also make websites, and you can do short videos all within one thing. And you can see as I scroll down through, lots of good templates for the image side, again, to make it easy for those kids to start and then ramp it up. But you can also make nice scrolling websites that look legitimately super professional within a few clicks, super easy to do. And you also have a number of short videos that you can do that are meant to be not super in-depth in any way in video editing, but give you a nice polished product that kids are really happy with and proud to run home and show people, look at this awesome video that I made. So without further ado, on the image side, you can see we have a number of different things here. Canva was the one I was going to do a deep dive, but in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and go past that. And I'm going to pause on this side because at this point, I do want to make sure that I introduce this interactive activity, because this is one that I am going to, out of my own pocket, supply at least one prize for our winner. But I would like to have my first ever that I've introduced a meme off. So the goal of this is to either use Google Drawings, Adobe Spark, whatever image editor that you want to use. You can employ your kids to help make some memes to bolster your chances. But what you want to do is you can make it on anything you want. I'm not going to narrow your topic, but my goal for you would be to either make me kind of hit me straight in the feels kind of a meme, like really make me think that way, or make me laugh out loud when I'm in a really important meeting kind of funny meme. So those are your two kind of things that you want to, and you want to create it yourself. So don't go out and find one, submit that one, but use one of the tools in the slide deck or your favorite one and make either the absolute funniest meme you possibly could or one that would really make somebody think deeply about it. But again, it's now a meme off, so you want to make the best one you can and make sure you launch it out on social media, and you're going to tag it with Global GEG as well as at PHAS EDU. And once we get a few together, I'll assemble those up and then we will launch out a Twitter poll to see who is voted as number one. And then whoever comes out on top in the meme off, I assure you, I will get a prize your way. So it is a legitimate contest that will have a prize on the flip side. So hopefully you guys have fun with it, and we will give at least a few days, because I know Twitter, at least on my phone, and it may be more widespread, is having some sort of a hiccup. So we will give you a cushion. So if you're watching this now, or you're watching it a couple days from now, we will make sure you have plenty of time to get those memes launched out. But again, once Twitter is over its little hiccup, get those launched out to @GEG as well as @PHASEDU. We'll pull them together, we'll have a vote, and we'll see who comes out on the top of the first meme off. But have fun with it, and I can't wait to see what you guys create. As we roll down through a few more, we're going to bounce around a bit as we come through the tail end side, because believe it or not, it is 7:41, so we have about 15 minutes left. So we're going to kick it into high gear, hit a few more things, and we'll go ahead and start looking at wrapping up before too long. On the presentation side, I think there's probably more presentation tools out there than there are as far as tools that do just about anything else. You have things like Google Slides, products like eMaze, Haiku Deck, Buncee, Adobe Spark does presentations, Canva does presentations. You have Prezi, Animoto, tons of different ways to do presentations. So there's a ton of options out there. Don't overwhelm your kids. Pick a couple or two or three that will kind of allow them to explore, try different things, but try not to give them a full list like this of like 10 different things. And as people that have probably seen me present before, you know I love Google Slides, so that's the one I'm going to dive into at least a little bit. And if nothing else, to show you down this left-hand side, these links will all become fairly important, but this bottom one that says all the things you didn't know Google Slides could do is going to link you to this slide deck that I believe is somewhere around 50 slides, 47 slides of tons of different things that you can do within Google Slides, from some of the ones that you're going to see up towards the top of doing a custom slide size. And for those of you that haven't done this before, if you go into File, jump into Page Setup, it's going to default to normally the size or the shape of the screen that you have on your device. But if you go into Custom, you could make that 8.5 by 11, so it's a full sheet of paper. But you also could make it 24 by 36, so that it's a full-size poster, and do fairly in-depth, good-looking design work right within Google Slides. So much you can do just based on that one tip, but there's also things like slide animations. Doing your format options so that, for instance, on an image, if I click on, on the video, if I click on format options, I can come into there and turn on drop shadow, one of the simplest settings to make images and videos pop off the page. If it's a video, I can click something like video playback, and I can set the exact time my YouTube video starts and the exact time when it ends. If I want it to be a GIF, but I didn't have time to make a GIF, so I just grabbed a video, I can mute the audio, auto-play that video, and it's essentially a GIF without me creating it. So if I had images, I could do a lot of the same format options as far as drop shadow and doing different things like that. There's a whole slide on different custom backgrounds. Word art makes an appearance in Google Slides as well as in Google Drawings. Bringing in different images and custom cropping them. And this is probably one of the last things I'll show. But if I do a quick search on the web here, we'll try a safe search and go for puppies. But if I do my image search, bring an image in, one of my favorite things to do is to come up next to where the crop button is, click that little downward arrow, and every one of these different shapes is something that I could crop that image into. So if I just wanted it to be a little bit nicer appearance, I could round the edges. Obviously, I'd probably resize it, come into my format options, add a little drop shadow, and that image is already better than when I pulled it in. But that shape crop is a super quick thing that you can do to make yourself look like a rock star really fast with a couple clicks. But as you come down through in that slide deck, again, we're not going to go through all of it. Ton of different things that you can do within here, including editing the master slide to do different things that then people can't move on the flip side. Then you get into how you can create things like word sorts and doing things like social media templates, using slides as well as something like Screencastify to make stop motion animation. And then I'm going to stop on this one because this one will come back to play. But something like storybook starters, magnetic poetry, all kinds of different stuff like that. All of this stuff is in slides. One of the first tools your kids have probably used. And again, that you can do fairly easily. But your kids, on the flip side, down as far as elementary grades, I've done different creation things with kindergartners, first graders in Google Slides. So as a place to start that gives you a ton of different options in one place, Google Slides is definitely my go-to place to go. So as we come down through, I do want to touch briefly on this Adobe Spark slide because Adobe Max is a free conference from Adobe that's coming up very soon. So definitely check that out. There's a ton of different things, obviously design-wise, that'll be in there, but a lot of good connections to the teaching side. And then if you're interested in Spark and haven't used it much, I also linked in a bunch of information there on Adobe Spark, including a couple different certifications that they offer for creative educator certifications that'll get you one of those awesome badges that you can add to your email signature. But at this time, I want to introduce yet one more challenge that I will make sure ends up as a prize as well. And this is a build your own turkey. And as I said, I stopped on this slide on storybook starters on purpose because it is where this build a turkey comes in. And this is an activity we've done at elementary, even up into the elementary side. But the purpose behind this, or the goal behind this, is that you utilize this blank body of a turkey. You have a text box next to it. And then you have on slides further down different eyes that you can use, different beaks that you can use, different feathers, different feet, and a few other extras. But your goal, first off, is to design your turkey. So put all your feathers, put all your eyes, all of those different things on there. Design it to your heart's content, and feel free to pull in things that are not in the slide deck. But with Thanksgiving not being all that far away, your goal after you've built your turkey out is to go ahead and in the text box next to it, try and write a convincing story of some sort as to why people should not eat your turkey. You have to be really persuasive. And this is, again, another one where we'll put a vote up, a poll up of some sort, have people vote. The person that comes out on top on that vote will equal a prize of some sort, most likely an Amazon gift card. And we'll probably, I think Twitter is back up, so we'll say probably by the end of the weekend, get some submissions in and launched out. Again, remember to tag at Global GEG as well as at PHAS EDU. We'll get that poll out fairly quickly after that. And again, whoever comes out on top, we will make sure that prize gets to you. But try and be creative with your design and also in your story as to why we should not eat your turkey. Why is he the top turkey that should live on into his old turkey days? Last thing I'm going to touch on Google Slides is more places for templates. Slide Carnival has a ton of awesome templates. They helped me with my second master's degree to look awesome in front of other people when I didn't really create anything other than the content in the deck itself. But probably the resource a lot of us have been going to even more so than Slides Carnival is Slides Mania. And the reason I have started to do that shift is there's a lot more educational content on Slides Mania. and the creator is fantastically responsive to educators in different things that they need. And you'll see you have an education template drop down here, and you also have more that is by EDU for EDU. So amazing templates that can save you tons of time. But on the flip side, they're also amazing templates for your kids to use too. So any of these things I talk about and show you, definitely awesome for you to jump in, create, do awesome things with, but also think about showing your kids these different resources and having them jump in, utilize these templates. Or how cool would it be for them to create some of these templates themselves and see if they could get them published on one of these websites? So really, as you think about it, as you analyze it, think about all the different ways you could come around to it to have those students not only creating, but also sharing it out and even possibly publishing it to get that awesome real-time feedback and getting their creations out there. So as we come towards the downside of the presentation, we're getting very close to the end. I'm going to go kind of quickly over the last couple things. One of them is custom maps and tours. First thing I want to point out here, because I really want to make sure I don't forget this, is if you are a fan of Tour Builder and you've used Tour Builder for a number of years like I have, notice this banner that now shows up at the top on Tour Builder, that it is being shut down in July of 2021. And that is because within the new Google Earth, you now have this tab on the left-hand side for projects, where you can jump in and actually create flying tours in Google Earth on the web, just like you used to be able to do with Tour Builder. And if you're not familiar with Tour Builder, if I click on the gallery tab up here at the top, you'll get an idea really quickly if I click on one of these of what it did and what the new Google Earth now does in a cleaner, really nice interface on that side. But you'll see I have almost slide type interface on this left side that I could click down through. But it was an interface that allowed your students to put images and different things in. They could obviously title the point on the map where they dropped it, and they could add more information. They could control the level of the zoom on the map. And then once they created it and shared it, you just have to click next and you follow along that path through that story the student has designed. And again, that is now transitioned, and what I would recommend creating in now is the new Google Earth completely on the web, earth.google.com/web. Click on projects on the left-hand side, and you're off and creating, doing amazing flying tours in Google Earth. And if you want to kick that up to a different degree and use some 360-degree imagery, Tour Creator is where you want to end up to create things or have your students creating things. That's Tour Creator, and that is linked into your slides here. You have another slide for different writing tools, including how you create an ebook with Google Docs, how you might get started with Blogger. If you're looking for comics and animations, you have a bunch of different websites that you can use there for different comics and getting into animations. Remember, Google Drawings is a super versatile tool that you can use. So you could bring that up for comics. You could also use Google Slides to bring that into the world of comics. Again, we had infographics. You can do things like magnetic poetry in Google Drawings, in Google Slides. We won't have time to get into it, but you can do a ton of different things in the world of coding. Code.org is an awesome website for that via the Teach tab at the top. One of the things I would really point out with it, though, is make sure you go into the curriculum and not just the things that are on the computer side. Look at those ones that are also on the unplugged side to let those kids know coding doesn't necessarily always mean the computer. It's also just a way of thinking and going about things a certain way, and really a different vocabulary to use too. But a bunch of links there for you on the coding side. Some different things that you can check out on the augmented reality page there as well. Adobe Spark makes another appearance because it is awesome. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on today in our last few minutes together is one more challenge, one more creation thing that you can work on, and that has to do with bighugelabs.com. This is an oldie but a goodie. It is way back to the days when Web 2.0 just started getting kind of big and blowing up as far as the terminology and the buzz phrase that was. But bighugelabs.com gives you different templates to really easily create a wide range of things, from movie posters to those old school motivational posters that we've all seen before. But the challenge that goes along with this is to do a project we used to do with a lot of our elementary students, and that is to make a trading card. And you'll see the trading card template on the website. So your goal is to make a trading card that is kind of your all-star teacher trading card. Create the best one you can. Again, share it out to Global GEG and at PHAS.edu. And I really look forward to the great things that you create. And I really hope that this presentation was really good for you. You got a lot of good ideas from it. And remember that slide deck is always going to be there for you, ready to go. I'll keep updating it, adding more good stuff, adding more resources for you to inspire yourself with, but also hopefully to inspire your students with, and get a ton of great submissions from them and give them a lot of things to create some awesome, innovative projects with. With that, I am going to go ahead and wrap up. By my clock, I have about 3 minutes left. So if we want to jump back into the StreamYard side of things, we can see if there are any questions that may have come in from out there in the YouTube land.
Just while we're waiting for that, thank you so much, Patrick. I like looking at the comments from everybody. Everyone's overwhelmed with the amount of ideas that you've given us tonight. So thank you so much for that. Really amazing. I think you gave us some really great ideas for tools to really help support student creation and innovation. Thanks also to Patty, who was backstage with me and helping me out as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I really enjoy this session because there is so much stuff that is awesome within it. And I just saw something pop into the chat about, could I teach somebody's class? In the world of the fact that we are virtual, I think that's actually something that could happen. So look me up. I'm more than happy to beam into your class. Let's make it happen.
That's amazing. Well, great. Yeah, so thanks for joining us. And I think we're going to sign off from here. So hope everybody has a great evening. And thank you all for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.